And welcome to the Paranormal Sideshow. I'm your host, John Edwards, and joined as always by my lovely wife, Stacey.
Hello.
And I had to do that. Until I figure out a new opening for the show, I have to run in the other room, run into the studio while screaming so we don't screw up our sound, because our little sound mixy badoob, it likes to screw up the whole intro because it's trying to figure out what just happened to it the whole time we're doing our whole intro bit. So I'll be talking, she'll be talking, but we'll be really misleveled. And I hate when I get misleveled.
Misleveling is the worst.
Misleveling is the devil. It's misdeviled. But I think I saw her strip once.
I know nothing about that.
Oh, no. I thought it was you.
Was not me, but I'm sure it
Right.
probably looked like me.
Knowing
you.
You would use that name, right?
Probably.
Miss Devil.
Probably.
Well, you've already got a stripper name.
I don't have a stripper name.
Come on, Stacey.
That's not a stripper name.
It's totally a stripper name.
No, because I spell it with an EY. If I spelled it with like an I, then maybe it would be a stripper
I is
name.
like hooker level?
Yeah, like the I with the bubble.
Oh, no. I think just Stacey. I think... All right, boys. I hope you enjoyed the night here. Thanks for this. Make sure to tip your bartender. It's coming up next on the main stage. It's Stacey.
I do have to say that whenever you see a Stacey in a movie, it's usually like
The other woman?
the bimbo one.
The girl.
Like, think about Pitch Perfect. Wasn't that girl's name Stacey?
That girl was gorgeous.
And she was the,
She
kind of
was
the questionable.
She was the best.
Morally questionable one.
She was the one I took to.
I know.
I usually take to the morally questionable one.
Right.
Don't look at yourself right now.
I'm not. I'm looking at you.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, okay. We should probably get away from that conversation. So
Yes.
how you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastical.
Good.
It's been a cool time, except for my family member dying, which made us do a show a little bit late.
A little bit.
It's okay. You got to stay positive on these things, folks. I mean, I'm not positive about it, but I'm positive he's dead.
Right.
But, well, never mind. Anyway, you never know with my family.
You never know.
It could any second. Just things are weird. Like, the world is weird.
Yes.
Every time I say the world, though, I just want, the world is a vampire. Fucking Billy Corgan. Anyway, the world's strange. It's not like it was.
No.
No, sometimes I stop myself and I'm like, I don't want to be the old man yelling at clouds, right?
Right.
But the problem with our society is the clouds are yelling at me. That's how strange everything is. It's like, oh, what you doing in my world?
Pretty weird.
Trying to be a cloud. You're making new clouds. That's not a real cloud. A plane just made that. I seen it. Did not. Did so. You weren't there a second ago. Yes, I was. No, you weren't. You're not a real cloud. You know what I mean?
Right.
It just happens. And you saw all that, didn't you? Yeah.
Unfortunately, I've been married too long enough that I saw that in my mind as you did it.
Or fortunately, you've been married long enough.
Yes, that's what I meant. Isn't that what I said?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks, Stacey. Be hard replacing you. So, just a couple of those $20 dances and we're done.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, at least you'd find work.
That's right.
Right? It helps us both. We might pass each other in the hallway. Like, knew I'd find you here. Oh. So, I guess we should do the show.
Probably.
So, well, like I was saying, the world, damn it, is a vampire. Damn you!
What does that even mean anyway?
I think that it sucks the life out of you.
Oh, I guess so.
I mean,
that makes sense. That makes sense.
I probably gave the song more meaning than he did. Half his band died of heroin overdoses. And the other half, well, they're probably session players. Anyway, so what I mean by that is everything seems really weird. Like, not weird as in an artsy movie we watch.
Right.
Like Lighthouse or whatever it was.
Right.
That's weird in that kind of way.
That's weird as in I can't believe I finished watching that entire movie weird.
That's weird in somehow they made Beaten Off in a duck shack in black and white win awards.
I don't know.
Okay? That made Robert Pattinson look like he did a good job in Twilight. So we need brooding, meth addicted man. Who are we gonna get? I have no idea. I mean, come on, right? So I mean, like things that things you never would have imagined. Okay, and I honestly didn't expect flying cars. I really didn't. When I was a kid and I saw those things about flying cars, I thought how impractical it was.
Right.
And how dangerous with the idiots that I already knew it was out there.
Right.
That's the way I thought. I thought I don't want to be in the sky with those people.
Right.
Because it just won't work. I didn't expect things like hoverboards to ever really work.
Right.
And I really didn't. I expected like computers to be pretty much where we're at.
Right.
Honestly. AI, which people think that's a new term, there was AI stuff in virtual reality. Like there was early versions of virtual reality helmets and things like that when we were kids.
Right.
They were no good.
Right.
But they were there. And you could kind of figure out if this is here, they might make a better one. I mean, most things have improved since they first were made, other than like hammers and ink pens.
Right.
You know,
right.
because it's when it's done.
Mean, some things you just can't improve,
what are you gonna do?
right?
What are you going to do? But I mean, that stuff was fine. And it's not even the improvements. It's the stuff that you just wouldn't imagine. It's the stuff with society, the huge divide in ignorant and normal, and how hard it is to find normal anymore. Whatever normal is, I get all that, right? I'm a poet. I know it. But I'm talking about just how stupid people are. And the stupid people have seemingly gotten stupider.
Right.
And it bothers me. It really bothers me. It bothers me to the effect of newspapers were a cool thing. People used to read them.
Right.
There were articles, and the articles could go several pages. Can you imagine trying to get a young person today to turn 9 pages and find the end of an article? Can you imagine giving a Rand McNally atlas to a young, let's say, 20-year-old whippersnapper and say, get me to Cleveland? I don't think it's going to happen.
No,
right?
I don't think so.
And that's pretty much our fault. Because we found the best babysitter in the world. And it's like we threw computers in a kid's lap. And it's like, oh, hey, we get to get messed up and have more sex. You know? I mean, I get it. But it's not just that. It's also things that should be startling.
Right.
Are no startled. Like, there's no startle to be had.
No, you can't be startled, huh?
No one is getting startled. So, the UFO thing, right?
Right.
The government comes out. And I have a whole thing, just as good as. It's in my head. There's a just as good as category, right?
Right.
The government comes out and just as good as, saying that it's all real when they say, no, we didn't build it. They didn't build it. We don't know who built it. You know? They won't say the word, right?
Right.
It wasn't us. We're pretty sure it wasn't them. I don't know who did it.
We're not saying it's aliens.
Yeah. I mean, in fact, to not say it's aliens, they'll say stuff like, well, it could be a time slip, Jim. There's a distinct possibility. I know all of you want to talk about little green man, but it could be a time fart. We found out these things are actually real. The time farts happen, and when a time fart occurs, Jim, tell them what happens. Well, it's kind of like a time queef, Bill, but instead of like a cannon of time, it's more of a of time.
I'm surprised they haven't found a way to convince us that they grow naturally in the environment.
Yeah, it happens to all little boys and girls. No, I mean, the thing is that they come up with this stuff. It's like, well, it could be like a pancake stack of dimensions. Just imagine you somewhere else, but you're black and gay. It's like, well, you don't know me very well, Jim. And they put that out there. And then they put out the fact it could be us from millions of years ago when we had a much higher technology and lived somewhere down next to the rock in the middle of the earth. I mean, and I'm sitting there and I look around. I look at you. I look at the cat. The cat looks back at me. He's like the only one. But I look around. I look at everyone. And I'm thinking, self, is it me? Is it me? Should I not take it as big as I do. But when they give off these explanations,
Right.
it freaking bothers me, man. It really does, because it seems very simple to me that they're even saying, oh, we got this James Webb telescope, and it's just looked 400 zillion years in the past, and we found a whole solar system. And it was there, and we're looking at the light of it now. It's the light. Hold on, let's turn on this little lamp now. There's its little lamp. That little lamp happened zillion years ago, but we just seen it. You know, and I think about that, and I think, well, if they were around a zillion years before us, and they didn't have as many catastrophes as we have, then maybe they built something, blew themselves up, sent cats the next time, blew them up. Right. Cows, blew them up. You know, and finally they got around to making one that worked. Sent it across time and space. Found whatever way to do wind cells and solar wind and all stuff. And that's kind of sound, right? It's far fetching, right? It's far out there. It's astral dynamico. It's cool, scientific even. Math at its best, highest form, right? The international language, the galactical language of mathematics. If you have math and you have love, you have everything. It's the two things that go across time and space. But they don't say that. They don't say that. They say, well, we don't know what it could be, but we can soundly say that it's nothing of ours. And it's technology that is much higher than anything we can deal with. That's right. Yes, it disappears. It sure does.
Yeah. We couldn't even fly it.
No, we couldn't fly. We couldn't get into the goddamn thing. 45 fucking years we've been trying to get in the door. Couldn't get in the door. 50 people are dead from trying to get in its alarm system. Couldn't do that. But it's not ours. But we're not saying the word. It just seems to me that it would have been much easier to say, you know what? I mean, come on, you guys ain't idiots. It's probably aliens.
Except most people are.
Yeah, they are.
Idiots.
But that's where it starts bothering me.
Right. I feel like you're bothered because people aren't making a big enough deal of everything that they're saying.
Anything they're saying.
Yeah. Like and it's they're saying it and people just not, it's like they don't care.
And it's not only that. It's they don't make a big deal. I got mad before about mysterious booms, right? There should be nothing with mysterious and boom in the title that happens on a daily basis throughout the world that can't be explained for well over, I don't know, the big ones, well over 15 years now, that they can't explain that exist. That still exist. And I quit looking. I could go in there right now and type mysterious boom 2024. And all of a sudden there'd be something come up from like Des Moines, right?
Oh, there'd be several.
And it'd be like, well, story, we don't know what it is, but last night, it cracked 4 houses, gave 3 chickens heart attacks, like, like they get it.
Right.
But that's crazy. And some of the other things that happen, like, oh God, the harmonious angels from another planet that, sound kind of like dinosaurs, sound kind of like big metal ships going up against each other.
Right.
The mysterious humming noise. Dumbledore. But I mean, sorry, not the mysterious ticking noise or whatever. But that's screwed with me for how long? About the same time as mysterious booms.
Yes, very long time.
Sky trumpets. They don't really call it that anymore.
No.
I think they were like, well, we know how to get people not to talk about it. Let's call it 19 things.
Call it all different things.
And I never heard trumpets either. Like I listened to it and I'm like, I don't hear trumpets.
I mean, unless it's like really, really bad, like elementary school kids trying to play the trumpets.
Or maybe my ears don't hear. Maybe it's like the whole...
It's too high pitched.
Yeah, it's like one of those things. Other people are like, do you hear those trumpets? Well, I guess I'm screwed. It is angels.
It is, and you're just turned off.
Somebody's like, it's beautiful. Oh my, it's like Adele acoustic, And I was just like, I don't hear anything. and I don't like Adele, I'm going to hell. So, I mean, I don't know, man. It really is bothering me. And that's just the tip. But I mean, because, the stupidity part of it is things people buy, right?
Right.
And I don't, we have a long habit of left, right, indifferent. We don't care. We're not saying anything. We're not getting into it. My name's Paul. It's between y'all. But still yet. Okay. The things people buy off network news, off cable news, the things people just buy.
Right.
They'll say, well, that there Harry, we know for a fact that he slapped that nun in the face with his pecker, and like, they'll be like, oh no, we talked to the nun just the other day, and it's like some dude wearing a nunnery hat, and just
nunnery,
whatever, a bad habit, whatever, and just sitting there, it's just like, and it's like, oh yes, it was me. It was terrible.
I'm picturing Monty Python right now.
He just slapped right in the face like a fish. It was so scary. And he doesn't even shave. And people just buy it. People just want to believe it. So they're just like, oh, because it's become like a reality show. Politics has become like a reality show. You want your contestant to win. No, I took contestant A. I called the 800 number. I'm in it for contestant A all the way.
Right, you're invested now.
Yeah, and the TV news anchors are Simon Cowell. It's just like, well, I don't know about that. That it was a little bit soft, and everybody's like, ooh, well, it was terrible. And it's become a circus. It's become a circus. Some happy dude standing offside going, well, he gave it his best shot. Oh, that's probably not the right thing to say right now.
No, probably
not. Anyway, I'm just saying, all that shit's got me thinking about all the stuff that's happened to us over the years. Might not be so weird after all.
I mean, in comparison.
People don't make a big deal about anything. So it's like, hey.
It's true.
We've had experiences with what we would consider fae. The little people, hold a folk. Small ones, those kind of things. Pop smoking, shoe making bundles of joy.
Right.
And, so has entire countries. But I was thinking, I'm going to go to the one place that I know I can get authenticity, sincerity, or sincerity, either one. They're both pretty cool.
They are.
100% honesty.
What place is this?
Reddit.
Oh, of course.
Yeah, so.
Of course.
The place for smart people on the internet.
Or at least witty ones.
At least ones that can write sentences somewhat. So I went to...
They can write what?
Sorry, Stacey. Maybe my next Stacey, I can request things. We're in that kind of world now, right? The non-sass version.
Right.
With a stripper name. Brunette, about 5'4", 125 pounds. I can get another one. But I would want the sass version.
I know you would.
And I think you're the only one that's like that, really. That sassy. Just sassy. Real sasso. I'll say. Anyway, I went to Reddit to get sentences.
Yeah.
That make you happy? Okay. Articulation Nazi. So
I learned it from the best.
Did you? Hi.
You.
And I wanted to look and see what people thought about fae.
Okay.
They had if there was anyone who had any kind of experiences. So I thought, I wonder if people have had experiences, what they would put. How would I even look that up? What kind of sub would it be? So I just typed in, real experiences with the fae. And I'd be damned if there wasn't a thread.
Was there? That
started out with looking for real experiences with the fae.
Of course there was.
Not ones in your mind's eye. I respected the person that wrote the question. Not talking about those that you just have to take my word for it.
Right.
I'm talking about tangible little boys.
Okay.
Okay. Tangible little boy is the name of my... No. So, has anyone seen the Fae Folk? This is under the Paranormal sub, actually.
Okay.
All right. And it's pretty recent, within the past year.
Okay.
I was kind of blown away with some of the responses.
Oh, really?
And I thought that everyone would enjoy a little trip down Fairy Lane.
Okay.
Oh, wow. Trip down Fairy Lane, the name of my other new movie. Hello. And it says, I don't mean like in your mind's eye or anything like that. I mean, has anyone physically had eyes on what they perceived to be the Fae? What was your experience? What did it look like? Gotta get that right there. So the first one was from Munch Kickin'.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Munch Kickin'. Yeah, you got to put that one and roll around your little brain over there. I loved it. Mm-hmm. Got me thinking about like a ninja little person. Munch Kickin'. All right. I seen a satyr. Is that how you say it?
Satyr?
Satyr? Is it satyr?
I think I think it might be satyr.
I'm sure there's Fae Nazis too.
I'm sure. I'm going to go with satyr.
Satyr.
Yeah, I think that's the right one.
All right.
Not really sure.
I've seen a satyr. Or at least that's what I assume it was. I was pretty young. Lower half was a goat. Human midsection. And a goat's head.
I'm sorry.
Damn it, Stacey.
I'm so sorry. So it's basically a goat with a human stomach.
I was trying my best. This is a real person, Stacey.
I know. I'm sorry.
What if they're a listener?
No, it's because of what I'm picturing that I'm laughing, not because of what they're saying. I get what they're saying. It's like a person with goat legs, but a goat head, but real person arms.
That's not what they said.
I know. Not what I'm picturing either.
Yeah, that's not what they said.
Okay, go ahead.
Lower half was a goat. Human midsection and a goat's head.
Okay. I got it. I think I got what they mean.
It just watched me from my grandmother's picture window.
Oh, goats do that, don't they? They just watch you. It's so creepy.
Yeah. I didn't feel any ill intent. Now, I'm sorry. If there was a half goat watching me from my grandmother's picture window, I'm going to feel a bit of ill intent.
I feel like that's 3/4 goat, really.
That's really got you going, doesn't it? That one's got you. I mean, can I continue?
Yes, I don't know what satyrs are supposed to look like, so...
Okay.
Anyway, continue.
Found out later my brother saw the same thing, more than once there, but he always felt negative energy from it, and it terrified him. I often think it protected my grandparents' property, and since my brother stole from them and treated them badly, it wanted him off the property, as they were the guardians of the land.
Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That would explain why his brother had the negative feeling.
Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. They actually had somebody ask a question and said, that sounds so amazing. I hope they're still guarding the land. Part of me wants to know even a ballpark of the world this is, but the other half wants them completely tucked away, safe and secret like. Munch Kickin' replied, there's still something going on there. I found out my cousin bought the property after her death.
That's impressive.
I think the goat may be the last thing you have to worry about.
I'm going to buy a house after I die, too. It's okay, go ahead.
I wish it was me that was wrong there. It's exactly how it's written.
I know. We know what they mean. Go ahead.
They've seen an old man in a white t-shirt and jeans. Pretty much my grandfather's only outfit. And some other stuff. Was he wearing other stuff or... I haven't heard much. I tend to avoid that part of my family now for mental health reasons. That is both incredibly interesting and terrifying. It never bothered me as a kid and still doesn't as an adult. I made the Fae a shelf with a few trinkets and a fairy garden at our home. Our gardens and flowers blossom so well every year that the neighbors talk about it. I like to think that we have a lovely partnership. Okay, that See, originally I just read the first part.
Right.
And I thought it might get better.
Right.
Didn't really get better.
No, but whoever that was talking to him, that is interesting about having the fairy garden and then their yard being very blooming very well.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, I have a story. This is from Throwaway Texan.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I have a story. My family is from the panhandle of Texas, far east of Amarillo. My great-grandfather came from Ireland and brought a lot of folklore with him. He had a college education in a time when that was not the norm, so a very smart man. Long story short, he started leaving milk and bread out for the fae. He was Catholic.
I didn't realize that was a Catholic tradition.
This was apparently something normal for him, and his mother had done the same. But it got out of hand because the bread would double and the milk would overflow out of the bowl every night. Eventually, we saw some Tinkerbell-type winged creature in the back acreage, which freaked him out. This thing had red eyes and was able to telepathically talk to him. He had a priest come from Pampa to bless his property and never saw anything weird again. Married my great-grandma, and no other strange things happened. This is not a first-hand account, but a story I think about all the time.
Okay.
Then Dogs for Bummers says, this confuses me.
Yeah, I'm a little confused too.
If your grandfather fed the fae folk, it implies he was happy for them to be around, no? And then, if the food is doubling, it seems to suggest that whatever is making that happen is grateful and trying to bless your grandfather for his good deeds. So why, upon seeing something mystical, would he suddenly decide it was evil and decide to be extricated?
Yeah, exactly.
I need answers. He left food out, I think just as something his mother had done. And then things got weird. I read somewhere that these things have always been here. They mentioned in almost every culture, and they take many forms. It's fine for you to notice these things until these things notice you. Whatever my great-grandfather came across freaked him out enough to get a priest from another town to come, so not something he was comfortable with. Yeah, they get into the red eyes thing and all that. But
right.
Yeah, I don't know. That went from grandfather to great-grandfather. Did you notice that? Was it great? I don't think it was great-grandfather to start with.
I do not recall.
Yeah. This is from someone I see post quite often.
Okay.
Delete it.
Busy person that deleted.
My son was with his friends down by the river in our town about 10 years ago. He came home and told me I would think he was nuts, but he saw a little bearded dude standing by the trunk of a tree who was about 18 to 24 inches tall. He said it was wearing brownish clothes, a pointed hat, and on the thick side. He saw it. It saw that he saw it. Then my son said that he had the idea that he should not approach it. He turned around and it disappeared behind the tree. There was an answer to it from Labakan. I saw something very similar 30 years ago. And people are saying it's probably a brownie.
Probably.
On another one, from Blitzing Late. Around 20-ish years ago, one suddenly appeared in my room, did a loop around my head, and because I got startled, I didn't immediately realize what it was, and swatted at it like you would a bug that's getting in your face. I'm not sure if I hit it, I hope not, but it flew off. Did another loop around my room, then flew straight at my closed window and disappeared. I looked around and out the window for it, and even went out for a short walk to check around the building, but didn't see it again. I still feel absolutely terrible for swatting at it, and I deeply hope I didn't actually hit it and hurt it. I really wanted to find it so I could apologize. As awkward as an encounter as it was, it made me happy and thankful.
Oh, it could still be around. Just because you don't see it doesn't mean it isn't there.
You should go buy some tobacco.
There you go.
Put it out.
Put a little tobacco out. I use tea a lot.
Yeah.
Put tea out. Sometimes I make soda bread. Irish soda bread.
After you swat them or just for...
No, just for in general.
Oh, okay. I used to live on a ranch in California that had been in the family for over 100 years. It used to be a Native American village. Grinding holes and obsidian were all over the place. A lot of weird shit happened there. We once had a native guy come up to check the place out, and he brought a pouch of tobacco. He told me to spread it around the property as an offering to the spirits of the first inhabitants. So I think there might be a connection to what you're saying about leaving tobacco for the Fae.
Oh, well, there you go.
Okay, this next one's from someone named Veshwolf.
Okay.
Sigh. I run the risk of pissing it off, but yes, I'm fairly sure it resides in or around the house we live in. It likes to mimic things in the house. Multiple times we have seen duplicates of our cat, which it usually, is what it does. However, it has tried to copy our corgi a few times and couldn't get it right. The end result was this anthropomorphic corgi-like form. The first time I saw it, it looked as surprised that I saw it as it was by seeing it, I've heard that the Fae don't like being talked about, so when I do talk about it verbally, like clockwork, it'll wake our 1-year-old in the middle of the night. Otherwise, she sleeps like a log. I'm hoping that since I'm typing this, it won't mind or won't know. Somebody posted here. I've heard that tricksters, that they're tricksters. Does it mimic anyone else in the house? When I was a kid, my mom and I would hear one another calling each other, only to learn that neither had actually done that. I always thought it was weird, but never attributed it to the Fae. Didn't even know about them back then. So do you ever hear your baby crying or your husband/wife calling you only to find out it's not really them? Funny you should say that. I at times think I hear my oldest daughter talking in her room when I'm home alone. Also, my wife and I sometimes try to spook each other when we are in the bathroom by running our fingers across the wood door. Well, the other day I was home from work early. No one was home and someone ran their nails across the door. It sounded just like my wife's long nails. I loudly went, "Nope," and locked the door. She came home 2 hours later. Yeah, that's
that doesn't sound like Fae exactly.
Yeah.
Sounds like they may need to have another problem.
Now, we've had, and I was trying to save some of our experiences for the end, but we've definitely had that. We've definitely had the voices. I mean, that's a long going thing. We'll talk about that, but I'm trying to save all those little things, the correlations there.
Okay.
The correlations.
Correlations.
Yes. So, Gigahansa Humba. Yeah.
Is that a username?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
This happened to me in the summer of 2016. I used to work in a warehouse that stored frozen foods, biological samples that needed to be frozen at all times. They were used and the like. Point of this information is to work in a place like that, I had to wear a big, thick, warm coat. Once I left work, I'd shed the giant coat and throw it in the passenger seat of my Econoline van. Now to the story. I've left work and making my way home, driving through city traffic, getting ready to hit the highway. I'm zoning out at a red light and just kind of staring out of my windshield, waiting for the light to change, when all of a sudden I see the strangest thing. As I'm sitting at the light, I see an orange-golden amorphous cloud in top of one of the trees lining the street, just sitting above a giant limb floating. All right, first thing, I'm seeing things, or the light from the sun is being filtered oddly through the tree, but then I notice it's getting bigger and I'm a bit confused. I then realize it's not getting bigger, but in actuality, it's floating down towards me. I'm sitting there in awe, wondering what this thing is when the light changes, and I slowly hit the gas reluctantly, driving forward, thinking that whatever this thing is, that I'll never see it again. Well, I was wrong. As I'm slowly driving forward, it's flying towards me and is close to making contact with my windshield. It's almost like it's shocked I can see it and is just as curious as I am about the whole situation. As I'm moving forward and it's moving toward me, we're bound to meet in the middle. I, at the time, had never really dealt with anything like that before, and I didn't know what was to expect. I can say, though, that this thing was giving off positive, curious vibes. Nothing malevolent or coming from a place of manipulation. I expect to make contact with it, and since it appears like an orange-golden gaseous light, I expect it to come in through the windshield, and that I'd imagine a ghost would. Easily passes through without an issue. I unfortunately was wrong. As soon as this being hits the windshield, I actually hear a cracking sound. It was so unexpected. I heard a loud crack as it made contact. I then expected at least a small fracture in the windshield, but nothing. For a second, I thought I'd made contact with the car and, couldn't pass through and left. If that is where everything ended, I would have somehow convinced myself it happened a different way. It was sunlight, not a bean, etc., etc. As I'm driving, and right before I hit the entry ramp to the highway, I noticed my huge winter work coat sitting next to me is shaking all over. I know this sounds completely insane, but it all happened as I'm telling it. The coat is shaking like a scared or hurt animal. It's not making extreme movements or anything, but definitely is shaking. Imagine a scared dog and how they curl up in a ball and shake all over uncontrollably. That's exactly what my coat was doing. I knew that whatever that was it was now in my van and it's sitting on or inside my coat. I have no other way to describe the situation. It just kept shaking, so instead of getting on the highway, I pulled into a Home Depot parking lot and just sat there talking to the entity, telling it it's okay. I know this sounds completely insane. I felt crazy, but I tried to console it like I would a crying child or a scared animal. I put my hand on my coat and petted the coat. It's absurd sounding, I know, but at the moment, I was focused on calming whatever it was in my van, calming it down and letting it know it'd be okay. I held the arm like I was holding someone's hand or paw, and I just sat there in the parking lot as I watched the shaking slowly cease. I then explained I was heading home and had to take the highway and would be going pretty fast and that it could leave if it wanted. I even opened the door for it. On the way home, I kept replaying the whole thing over in my head and thought about how crazy the whole thing was. I also knew that if I hadn't experienced it, I wouldn't believe it. I thought I'd never see this being again, but I was wrong. Shortly after this, I started noticing an orange cat, like being in places cats are to be expected, and places where cats aren't to be expected. First on the road, driving back and forth to work, different points on the road, and at first I didn't put two and two together. Then I saw it in my parking lot at home. I then saw the same looking being in the freezer at my warehouse. I realized that what I had experienced was unique and that this cat being I was seeing was related to the experience. I still doubted myself until I came home from work one day and my girlfriend told me that she thought she'd seen a weird looking orange cat in the house. I, of course, told her that some of what had happened with the windshield and the coat that day had happened, but didn't go into elaborate detail because I knew it sounded completely insane. I definitely didn't tell her I thought an orange cat type being was following me around. I still see him to this day, and she does as well. He seems to have become quite attached to us. I have no idea why, but we've accepted him as well. Don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm seeing it constantly or even daily or weekly, but I do see it, at least every few months. I've woken up to it walking around the floor on two legs, peeking over at us like a little kid would to see if we've woken up yet in the morning. It's always orange golden and always somewhat transparent. Me and my girlfriend have both compared notes. We both agree it's cat-like but humanoid. Varies in size from adult cat size to a small primate. Golden orange with 2 or 3 black tabby cat-like stripes that circle its belly and back. Sometimes it looks completely like orange and yellow tabby and with 3 black stripes, while others, it definitely is more humanoid with cat-like traits. It's always small though, cat-sized to toddler-sized. Even when we don't see him, we know he's always close. I have no idea what he actually is, but I think he's top of a puka or fuka or puka. I also consider him family now. I know this sounds completely absurd, but I swear to you it's 100% true. I would not make up something so absurd sounding if I was attempting to pass something paranormal off as true. At first, I thought I was losing it, but my girlfriend saw him, and I felt better knowing that there was some substance to this being, and it wasn't because of some mental disorder. It's never attempted communication as far as vocally or telepathically. It gives us a vibe, for sure. It's though I can pick up on it rather quickly. I've never been fearful of it. Like I said, we think of it as family. After my experience with it, I started researching and reading about the Fae, animal spirits, ghosts, etc., trying to figure out what was going on. I don't really share this story with anyone, and in fact, my girlfriend is the only one that knows the entire story. Well, that is until now. Thank you for your interest. In case anyone's wondering where it happened, it's Kansas City, Missouri. Thank you.
Well, that is a very interesting story.
Wasn't that something?
Yeah.
I like the way that he told it. It's I don't know what that was or is.
No idea.
I mean, you can say it's fae or fairy or whatever. It's just as easy to explain that as just a ghost, but the humanoid like thing. I mean, it could
What the cat-like humanoid thing. It's strange.
Yeah.
The way it appears.
I mean, who's to say, right?
I like the fact that him and his girlfriend saw it separately.
Yeah.
And then compared the notes.
Mm-hmm. Sound familiar?
Yep.
Yeah. I thought so too. Mm-hmm. This is next one's from Bitch Button Don't Push.
Okay then. Will not push.
My friend thinks she saw one or a spirit of the land near a temple here in Japan. She said it looked like a tiny old lady and it was gone when she tried to look closer. Someone said tiny in stature or felt like Bitch Button passes. She comes back and says tiny as in tiny stature, smaller than a very young child.
Yeah, I wouldn't mess with that.
Yeah.
Something outside of a Japanese temple. Just leave that be.
No. She goes on to say she's really sure that it's connected to the Fae, but I don't know. This next one, and I say the Japanese one because I have Japanese ones.
Right.
The next one is Pie Wizard.
Pie Wizard.
Hi. I was in the Tomahawk Hill Cemetery in Inverness. I thought it was Iverness.
I think it's Iverness.
It says Inverness, so I better do it that way.
Okay.
I was in the Tomahawk Hill Cemetery in Inverness, Scotland in 2018. Heard a woman's voice whisper my name in my left ear while I was alone at the top of the hill. Later, I found out from a local bartender that the hill is known as Fairy Fortress. Exactly 1 week later, I was in England and had the only instance of sleep paralysis I've ever had. A shadow figure stepped out of a bright light at the foot of my bed, sat down next to me, and leaned in close to my left ear. I didn't hear anything, but was finally able to move at that point, and it got visibly startled and backed away into the darkness, not the same direction of the light. Needless to say, I didn't sleep the rest of the night. I felt uneasy for the remainder of my time in Europe, about a month. As soon as the plane took off, I felt a lot less heavy and haven't experienced anything like it since. Edit. I'd like to clarify, it was a bit more solid than a shadow figure. The best way I can describe it is it looked like a Dementor without the cloak. No facial features, maybe about 5 feet tall. The skin on it had texture, lines and such. It was dark gray and black in color.
That's terrifying.
The next one, kind of a big streel. I've never seen them myself, but stories are rampant here in Newfoundland, Canada, and the folklore department at our university is full of first-hand accounts. One of my favorite stories is about a teenage girl who was leaving a party one evening and took a shortcut through the woods. She went missing for 2 days. When she was found, she didn't know how long she'd been gone. There were buttons missing from her coat and a bruise on her leg. As days passed, the bruise became swollen and painful to the point where the doctor had to operate on her leg. Inside the wound, the doctor found twigs, mud, and missing buttons from her jacket.
Inside her leg?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's weird.
Yeah. And we'll stop with one from Kentucky Backwoods.
Ooh, Kentucky. All right.
This is from Mushroom Whisperer.
Okay.
Obviously, Kentucky.
Obviously.
Mostly light, it's what you see. Small, the size of a dragonfly, maybe on substance. But mostly light, white, yellow, in my experience. Nothing much of note happened. I was sitting on a blanket in a field. It flittered around me for about half a minute and then flew away. It wasn't a great time in my life, but I can't say the encounter scared me in any way. However, I was pretty numb and shut off, even to myself. At that time, I was just not right. It made me curious, and I got my attention mostly. Anyway, it never occurred to me that it might be a fairy. But one day I was talking to this old man I know, Kentucky Backwoods old man, looks like Yosemite Sam, who knows everything about nature. And I told him about the strangest insect I'd seen. Without hesitation, he said, "Oh, you saw a fairy." I couldn't believe he believed in such a thing, but he said it without any doubt. So I accepted it without any questions. Whether I believe in fairies or not, what I saw is what you people believe to call fairies.
Oh, well, that's pretty cool.
And you know, the stories are every continent, every country, every time period.
Right.
There are countless stories of little people, little folk, and it really goes from the fairy-like that you would think fairy,
Right.
to, you know, bigger type beings, to and I when I talk about fae, I think of everything from tree spirits to you know.
Oh, there's definitely a lot of different types.
Yeah,
It's not just fairy.
yeah. Even it's such a huge deal in some of the countries, you know, like with the Iceland and freaking Scotland, Ireland, just, you know, the Welsh legends and what have you, especially. But I mean, Japan, Hawaii, everybody has them. Native Americans have theirs. I mean,
Right.
and it's crazy because even in some of the research we did on giants, I know we found a lot with, you know, little folk and stuff in there. It seems to be that this is something that has always been. It's kind of like when we do research on Bigfoot,
Right.
you know, it's crazy because it's just everywhere. And
It's everywhere.
got different names. And it reminds me of a book I have from the British History Museum guy there, that it's just about ghosts. And it's ghosts from all the transcribed, you know, text there from Sumer.
Right.
And it's cool because the British Museum has all these Sumer text, and they were able to translate them all. And when he was translating them, one thing he noticed was that ghosts were just as natural as me saying, hey, there's the sun.
Right. Right.
There was no doubt to it. You know, if I say, hey, the sun, you don't look at me like, the sun, eh?
Talking about that sun thing
Yeah,
again.
big yellow thing, right?
Sure, it comes up in the morning, goes down at night.
Make everything bloom. Yeah. But to him, it was so natural. And that's what he's saying. Like the stories, up until there was doubt put in people's minds,
Right.
it just was. You just was. They even had ceremonies because they would, in their dwellings, they would usually bury relatives like basically under the living room floor, and once a year, whatever.
No wonder they all believed in ghosts.
Once a year, whatever, they would dig up the skull and put it in the floor, in the middle of the floor, and they would, you know, basically hang out.
Yeah, like just
And it was a summoning ritual, right?
right for their ancestors. Right?
Yeah, and they didn't call it a summoning ritual; they called it, you know, a party.
Right.
But it was just a part of life, and death, obviously, especially at those times, was a grim reality.
Oh yeah.
There wasn't decades of going without having to deal with it. It was a yearly, if not weekly, occurrence, probably.
Right.
And, you know, a lot of people didn't make it out of childhood. So it was something you had to deal with. And the thing was, it's always got me how those ancient stories respected it. And, you know, they just knew that it was part of it. Magic as well. And he talks about that. He's like, you know, magic is just matter of fact.
Right.
It's you do this and this happens. Incredibly interesting.
It is.
And I look at the fae and the fairy and such like that, because as I started off the show saying everything's so crazy and wacky and people don't, you know, that's one of those things you still get to look for, though. You know, there's not many things out there that you'll get to look.
Right. Right.
But if you tell people, yeah, I've got brownies at the house.
right.
you know,
Right.
Like pop brownies. I mean, you know, and then when I explain to them, no, and they'll think I have pop brownies. But I mean, it's just one of those things. You know, we've had like that Blackie Crawlus, you know, that little black shadow thing.
Right. We've had that around the house several times.
Yeah.
It comes and goes.
And we thought it was our cat for a long time. And it was just, I mean, it was just there. It was just there.
Right. I mean, we could have that now.
And-
we wouldn't know it because we have a black cat. So
Yeah, and
we would probably never even think twice.
it happened for so long, and we finally talked about it with each other. And because I remember we were making food in the kitchen, and I was like, "Did you see that?" And did you see that? That's how it's always been, you know.
Right. Right.
And of course, with the Japanese demons, is our friend that we were doing stuff with that was very into Shinto and had a lot of Shinto shrines and what have you. And that was a, you know, incredible experience several times with very tangible things. And, you know, and I've talked about with Raja and I, you know, the little thing laughing and running around in circles, and you could hear its little Chucky feet going around in circles. But that's what it was. It was conjured, but real as could be. And, you know, the thing I jokingly call a treeman, demon in a tree.
Right.
But a lot of spirits and connect it with nature and trees and
right.
and what have you. It's just funny. Other than that, things we always look at as paranormal, but a lot of the stories people say maybe fae, potato, but you've had the kids thing happen as long as I've known you.
Oh yeah, I get the mama like all the time.
Yeah, you've always had the mama.
Like because all my kids call me mama.
Yeah.
And I'll be home by myself.
Yeah.
And I'll just hear mama, and I'll just answer because that's what you do. You don't think about it. You're just like, yeah, and then you're like, oh wait, nobody else is here.
Right.
So yeah, I do get that quite a lot. Not as much anymore, but I used to get it a lot more. But I still get it every now and then.
Yeah, and it's strange. I mean, it just is, and whistles and those type of things, and little voices here and there. One time I was talking to something. And it was funny because what it said to me, Raja heard as well. And the way it happened was she didn't know what was going on with me.
Right.
And she was swatting. Remember this? And it was,
yeah, I think so.
Yeah, she was swatting, but she heard it.
Uh-huh.
And it wasn't a fly.
Right.
But the thing was, it was like, it was very cool because she didn't see what I'd said, and then I told you what it said, and she had heard the same thing. It was one of those cool little moments where
everybody saw it
Yeah.
and said their experience, and it's all the same.
Yeah, and it's really strange. I had a dream the other night about fairies, fae, and about respecting them, and it was a very strange dream, man. It was a really weird dream, actually. And it's like this house I have in my dreams where there's always a lot of people waiting on me and people I don't know. And there's like a see-through window. It's a fenced-in like window. I don't know how to say it. With the screen,
Right.
You can feel the air and everything.
Right.
Like a screened-in back porch, but it's the whole back half of the house.
Right, I gotcha.
And it's like a partition kind of thing. You can walk out into it. It's all screen around you, but it's not really a porch. It's still like living room
Still
floor.
like a screen room.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. Yeah,
And you walk out there, and in the dream, it's always the same, right? It's different dreams, but to my right, I can look down this road, a gravel road, and these things will be coming up from that way. And then there's stuff in front of me that I'm kind of dealing with, and then things on down the road that you don't want to look at just because. Right. It's just things that you don't want to deal with.
Right, I gotcha.
And but they're in the future. But they're there. If you want to look, you can look. They change quite often.
Right.
But the things coming are sometimes weird, sometimes creepy. But they not being quite as creepy as they were the other night.
You have some odd dreams.
Yeah, some very odd dreams. I've had a lot of odd ones lately. Yeah. Almost every night for the last week or so, I've had vivid dreams. I've had vivid, dark, mostly dark dreams. One would translate to dark. Right. And, some of them have been dealing with scary things, which I don't usually have. And I mean, when I do, I deal with it. I've joked that I don't run down the hall. I've chased people down halls. Like, but it's been more of the other in the recent dreams. You've been dreaming a lot?
I actually don't think I have, which is weird. Usually I do, but I don't remember having any dreams at all.
Maybe I've been stuck in your dreams.
The last couple days, probably.
Yeah. I don't know. It's been a weird time, and there's a lot of weird things, like I said, in the world. So who knows, man? I'm sure there's a
little extra stress in the world.
I know that one thing in the world that makes it better is Paranormal News with Stacey Edwards.
All right, let's get to the news. Okay, so the first thing we're going to talk about is the events that have happened recently with our
former president.
Former president, yes. I wasn't sure exactly how to say that. I'm trying to be very careful about this subject. I don't want to say anything that's going to get us kicked off of any platforms.
Yeah, that's true.
So we all know what happened during his speech in Pennsylvania when he was injured while he was on stage.
You mean the assassination attempt?
Yes, the assassination attempt.
I think it's okay to say that.
I think so, but I was just trying to be very
broad
about it.
No, yeah, I get it. It's just the world we live in.
Then the story I've got is not specifically about that. It's about a gentleman named Brandon Biggs. He calls himself Pastor Brandon Biggs. And
is that because he's a pastor?
I don't know if it's been confirmed that he is actually a pastor.
Okay.
I mean, I guess he could be.
No, it's like maybe it's like his DJ name or something.
It's his YouTube name.
Okay.
For sure.
Yeah.
All right. So, because it says in this article, it says, although describing himself as a pastor, there's little available information other than on his YouTube channel, where he has nearly 200,000 subscribers.
Well, you know what? There's nothing saying that Dre's a doctor.
This is very true.
Okay.
Says he is.
Yeah.
But I probably wouldn't let him operate.
I would.
Would you?
I would trust him.
All right. Anyway, so what happened was several months ago, 4 months, but around March-ish, I think, March, April, sometime earlier, a video was put up of him making a prediction about this very event that happened to Donald Trump the other day, the assassination attempt. Yes, and he described it months ago. In his video that he put up, he was actually doing an interview.
Yeah.
But he described it very vividly, and it was almost exactly accurate.
Yeah,
there was
crazy.
A couple little details, things that you wouldn't really know if in a vision. You know, like if you saw blood. Like I think he said the eardrum was busted, but there was blood there, and you wouldn't really.
It was very weird because the way
that.
he did it when he was describing it, he was rubbing his face exactly where the blood was.
Right.
And
right.
I thought that was the weirdest part. Obviously, when I saw it, the prophecy or the dream, as he said, that he had their vision, whatever. The bust of the eardrum, where he talks about it being very close.
Right.
I mean, this went through the back of Trump's ear.
Yeah, I think it actually pierced the top of his ear, didn't it? Yeah. So
can't get much closer than that.
No, it was very accurate. So, people are taking notice of this because how often does somebody that accurately predict something like that's going to happen? Now, this gentleman, Mr. Biggs, he does have his own YouTube channel. Like I said, it's called Last Days, and basically he posts.
Sounds like a positive place.
Any vision that he has. Yeah. Like one of the things that obviously has critics, because it's a psychic thing.
Right.
So one of the things that his critics say is that he posts every single vision he gets. So if you post, hundreds of visions on your YouTube channel, eventually one's going to be correct. I don't think I believe that. Yeah. I mean, I could get on there and say all kinds of things. Yeah. Predict or whatever, and that doesn't mean I'm going to be right about it.
Yeah, but I mean, to predict that.
Oh yeah, so accurately and with such detail.
Yeah.
So like I said, he does have a YouTube channel. He does, anytime he gets some kind of vision or dream, he just makes a video and puts it up there.
I mean, it wasn't even just the fact that of going through the ear. It was the fact of going to his hands and knees, and it was
very symbolic vision.
It was a very symbolic event.
Yes.
I mean, just seeing it, some of the way the pictures are and things like that, it was, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on, I mean, it was a harrowing event, and I think back to when it happened with Reagan, and being a kid, and man, that stuff is just that's kind of stuff that don't leave you. Right. Right. And I think, you remember Doctor Who, we had fixed points. It's kind of like those kind of things, right? Like those days, those moments. Right. So it makes sense to me that if you're going to have a vision, right, that's one that you would have. But the whole thing about there being a lot of visions and people will pick them apart.
They do.
The thing about it is, if you get visions, you get a lot. The thing about it is things can change. There is the whole free will thing, and a lot of times I've always been of the belief that if I was to get on here and I was to say things, I don't know, like there was going to be a famine in the Middle East, and it was going to be weird because we know all the stuff happening over there. What if one country that people were mad at, people in those other countries, was the ones who helped them during this famine, like, and but you saw something like that, but you put it out there and then somebody makes sure that doesn't happen. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
I don't know. It's really weird.
It is weird. And I've always thought that about, I hate when people are so against, I guess, I'll have to say psychics. That's just the way it is. Like, people will go and they'll get a psychic reading and then they'll be like, no, it was all wrong. And they'll be super critical of it. But what they don't understand is just by going to a psychic and getting information about, the path that you're on, you're changing the path that you're on. And so you're making your own future different.
It makes some people have those abilities not want to do it in public.
Right. I think, I like to use the analogy of, like, if you were writing a book and you went to a psychic and you're like, is my book going to be published? And the psychic's like, oh, yes, because you're knocking on doors, you're selling it, you're working hard, you're doing everything you can. And the psychic's like, oh, I see that you're on a path where your book's going to be published. So then you go home and in your mind, even if you don't want to, in your mind, oh, it's going to be published. The psychic told me it is. So maybe you don't work as hard. Maybe you don't knock on every door. Maybe you are thinking, hey, that's probably going to get sold. I don't have to do as much as I was doing. And then guess what? You don't knock on the right door and it doesn't get published.
Right.
So then what do? You go back and you scream at the psychic, oh, you were wrong. Right. When really that's not the truth.
Well, and there's times like we had the MJF story a few weeks ago.
Right.
Where MJF went to a psychic just not believing it at all and got incredible information, but then got information for someone else. And
right.
it was exactly what he needed and what she needed. I love those beautiful stories. So really, for all the stories out there that are negative of nature, there's a lot of really great warming stories.
Absolutely.
And I think that's what it really matters. It don't really matter what the noise is and what, if you believe it and that's wonderful. And you should never put your faith all in one person anyway.
True.
So, if you get visions or you go get your fortune told, take it with a grain of salt. If there's something that can help you maybe be prepared for watching out for, getting in yellow cars or, things like that. Yeah. I mean, that's great. Heed that warning and thank God that it don't happen if you never have the accident,
Right.
I think that obviously the government has spent a lot of time and power on things like, remote viewing and have had incredible, and this is leaked documents. I mean, not even leaked, like released.
Right.
Freedom of Information Act stuff that, people read and they're like, holy crap, they got that exactly right. And some of that, some of those stories, some of the best ones have people that were supposedly exposed on national television. Right. Like Uri Geller and
right.
You have people on there that have, in one instance you look at as being exposed but they could tell you what was in this room 3,000 miles away inside a box,
right, and accurately
under controlled circumstances, right? So it's not an exact science. I don't think it's meant to be.
No, I don't think so either. And I think it's funny that people are so against stuff like that when your brain can do so many amazing things that you don't even know about. Like, we don't even know everything our minds can do.
Yeah. I mean, my mom and dad, who probably are the furthest away from people that would go see a psychic on the planet, went to one when they were dating, and the psychic told them about me and exactly what I would look like and when I was going to be born and all that stuff. And I always thought that was a really cool thing. When I was a kid, I got introduced to that. It was like all the stuff about don't go see psychics, and all this stuff. But
look what we ended up with.
Yeah, but the story of this beautiful baby, and yes, I called myself beautiful. I was a damn cute baby.
You were a beautiful baby.
But I always thought that was really cool. And it's funny because most people have those stories.
Yeah.
No matter how religious or how tight knit or whatever. There's like, it's kind of like the I don't believe in ghosts, but Grandpa comes every winter.
Right.
It's the same thing. Like, fiddly dee, I don't believe in those mediums, but I went to one once and outside of carnival. And
everybody has that old grandma, that kind of knows things. You can be like, go see old.
Does everybody have that? Because I do.
But I think a lot of people do. Or they know the strange old lady that can just tell you the wise stuff. I don't know. All right. Do you want to move on?
I'm just thinking of strange old ladies that tell you why stuff.
That is my goal in life one day when I'm super old.
I was thinking about the lady in the pond there.
The watery tart threw a sword at you.
Yeah.
Speaking of swords.
All right.
Good segue. All right. So let's talk about a legendary sword that was in stone that is mysteriously vanished.
I know that story.
From a supposedly inaccessible location.
Well, it wasn't exactly inaccessible, but it was hanging up. It was in that stone way up high.
It says seemingly inaccessible. It's actually not as high as I thought it was. When I first read the story, I thought it was like 100 feet in the air or something like that, but it's not.
I knew exactly when I first heard the story that made some news. I knew exactly the sword. You've seen the sword.
I think I have, yes.
You have. Trust me. You've seen it with me. But I know exactly where it is and all it's cool. But yeah, it's not inaccessible. I mean.
All right. So this is a story from France, from, excuse me for butchering the name of this place, but Rocamadour in southern France.
It's okay. The French would be rude about it anyway.
Yeah, probably. It's a famous weapon. They call it the Durandal sword, and it protrudes from stone in the side of a cliff in this town in southern France. And all of a sudden, one morning, it was just missing, and it's been there for so long. I don't think they even know how long it's been there. Don't. It's like a legend. It's a legendary sword. And they have no idea who took it or even how they were able to get it out of its position. Now, the Durandal sword is like, they call that sort of a legendary sword, kind of like Excalibur.
Right.
But, this is from France. And the legend of it begins with like Charlemagne.
Right.
Who supposedly received the
All
sword.
Legends do.
Don't they? Who supposedly received the sword from an angel.
Yes.
Which is much better than getting it from, the lady in the water.
Yeah.
Shoves it at you. Charlemagne then gifted it to his trusted officer, Roland. Now, during the Battle of Roncevaux Pass, Roland didn't want the sword, Durandal, which was supposedly magical enough to slice through boulders, to fall into the enemy hands. So, because of its strength, he didn't want them to have it. So, and he wasn't able to destroy it because it was indestructible. So he threw it into the air in desperation. So this is where it comes into play in this town. Supposedly, it traveled hundreds of miles and punctured the cliffs in this town of Rocamadour, where it then rested for 1,250 years, it does say.
Yeah.
So this is sort of where the whole saga came from. This first appeared in a poem called The Song of Roland.
Yeah.
And so this town claims that this sword is that sword. There's a big crack in the cliff, and the sword was there, and that was their legend. And now, seemingly overnight, someone just has come and taken it.
Maybe it was Charlemagne.
It could have been. The angel decided, it was like, well, if you aren't going to use that, I guess I'll take it back.
We probably need the, to find the king somewhere now, right?
Yeah, somebody's the king of France now.
Yeah.
Supposedly it was in a cliff, it says 10 meters high, which is roughly about 32 feet.
Yeah.
For some reason, I was thinking when I first read this, I was thinking it was like 100 feet in the air, but supposedly someone had to...
Really good baguette and probably knock that thing down.
Someone had to scale the cliff to get it, is what it's saying. I don't know the setup of the land.
I think it was a monkey.
Supposedly you had to scale the cliff.
We have
a monkey king. This is how it happens.
Well, yeah,
this is how Planet of the Apes happens.
Yeah.
He stole the sword and now he's our
French
king.
Monkey. If it's a French monkey, it's probably wearing a beret and an eye patch.
Smoking a cigarette.
Yeah. It's just... Oui.
Oh, so, yeah. Then there's still no updates on this, so it's still missing, as far as I know.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think it's cool. I mean, any story like that is cool.
Yeah, they'll find it, like, on the dark web somewhere, black market. Someone will try and sell it eventually, right?
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Or it's in the woods
with
a monkey.
It might be the death penalty on that one.
True.
It's weird. I mean, it's really strange because if it had just fallen...
Right, they would have found it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they looked, right? I mean, they didn't just be like, oh, it's gone. Someone stole it. They didn't. I mean, they actually looked.
Yeah, no. I think that a swallow may have got it because, where it was up so high.
Right.
That
they took it to England.
Well, yeah, possibly a swallow could have got it, don't you think?
Possibly. No, maybe not an English swallow.
Wait, an African swallow. An African swallow could have definitely carried it.
Well, maybe if two swallows could have carried it.
No, it's a cool story. I mean,
it is.
And Charlemagne, anything connected back to Charlemagne. How many stories are we going to have that can still go back to Charlemagne?
Everything goes back to Charlemagne,
well,
right?
If you're an English royalty, they try to always make their lineage go back to Charlemagne when we don't even really.
I'm sure most of that is untrue.
Well, I mean, I don't know. I believe in King Arthur. So
it's kind of like how a lot of people around here have a grandmother that's like
Indian,
an Indian princess.
Yeah, they're more likely to have a grandmother from India than no. I mean, there's obviously a lot, but I think a lot of people get terribly disappointed in
their lineage. Yeah, if they do the DNA thing and they're expecting one thing, and then they're just like, oh.
I myself get tickled because they always explain my darkness for the Native American until I had my Native American test.
So where does your darkness come from?
Well, I don't know. But
I mean, I'm pretty sure you don't have anything on your DNA that it's just alien, right? You're just part alien. You have a little bit of unknown DNA.
I think I'm going bad.
Maybe.
I don't know.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk about a story from Morgantown, West Virginia.
Well, there you go.
And this is about a stone from a child's grave that sparked a paranormal legend a long time ago has been stolen.
Oh, wow. Maybe
a lot of things being stolen.
A sword and a stone.
Oh, my goodness, that's true. They traveled a long way. All right, so the Morgantown Police Department is asking for information after a gravestone was stolen from the Oak Grove Cemetery. And it's not just any headstone. It is the headstone of a boy named Harry Spitz, who was born on July 9th, 1909, and died on September 8th, 1912. Now, the stone was recently stolen on what would have been his 115th birthday. I mean, it was stolen on July 9th, and he was born on July 9th.
Good thing.
No. Now, the legend, because this is just a grave of a 3-year-old, but the legend is from back in 1975, I think is when it started. There was a story in the Charleston Gazette. And it says it was discovered on July 1st, 1975 by a man named Glenn Pierce, who was the caretaker at the time of Oak Grove Cemetery. And apparently the sod around the grave was pushed up about 8 inches, leaving a dark hole on one side of the grave where the boy was buried. Now, they went to take a look to go see what happened to it. And when he put the beam of flashlight inside, he jumped back at the sight of a concrete vault with a broken lid about 6 feet down.
Wow.
And what happened was it looked like the thing, I mean, it's just a huge hole. It just looked like the thing just came out of the ground on its own. And when the police went to investigate, there were no like shovel marks or any sign that vandalism at all had been done. Like, it didn't look like anybody had messed with it. Like, it had done this on its own. And then even stranger, there was a crack in it. And when you looked, the 3-year-old's body was well preserved.
Oh my goodness.
Like, it didn't look like there had been any decay or anything like that. So it was just a really, really strange story. And they ended up eventually reburying it, because we're talking about 1976 and he died in 1912.
Yeah.
So for that body to be so well preserved was just very insane.
It's very saintly.
So suspecting that there might be a clue inside the casket itself, they unlatched the lid and opened it, and they saw the child. His long blonde hair was still there, almost as perfect as they put him there.
Oh my God.
So that started kind of like the legend of this child. They reburied the casket, obviously. So they never found any conclusion to why he was so well preserved or what happened with the casket. They still don't know why it popped out of the air. They just reburied it, and now it's considered kind of like a phenomena. Like paranormal people go there and visit it because of how strange it is. But for some reason, on the anniversary of this child's birth, 115 years later, someone decided they wanted to take his headstone.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I know a lot of people in that town.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So the fact that some people got some stuff out of a graveyard doesn't exactly surprise me.
No, I know. It's a shame that they took it from such a well-known, grave site.
Yeah, but hey, it could have just been did they check and see if the little boy was still in there?
I mean, not this time. I don't think it was dug up this time. But, when it happened in 1976, the gas company even came out and checked for like methane, stuff like that, to see if maybe it had pushed it.
To see if people were hallucinating?
Yeah, probably. To see if it had pushed it up out of the ground, and they never found anything. Like, they really found literally no reason why it should have come out of the ground.
Well, I mean, to be that well preserved.
Right.
Again, very saintly like, right?
Yes.
I mean, that's one of the things they look at.
Isn't that how you get to be pronounced a saint?
It's one of the things. But that's crazy. And I mean, who knows? I mean, I don't know what kind of thing they would be doing to take the gravestone, unless they were just doing it for some reason, but
just to be mean.
Yeah. I mean, wouldn't it be weird if they just randomly took that one?
Right, and didn't know anything about it. And they're like, oh, look, it's July 9th. This says July 9th. Let's take it.
And they're really wishing they hadn't right now.
It's going to be one of those things where it just gets mailed back to the police station.
Yeah, with a note saying,
please take this back.
Please come get this well-preserved little dead boy.
Who's haunting me.
Yeah, because 110 years is probably not that well preserved at this point.
No, probably not. Especially since when it did pop up, it got a crack in it. Whatever like magic was going on there, it probably broke in 1976.
That's that mountain magic, buddy.
That's what it is.
That's that mountain dirt.
Well, while we were speaking of tombstones, I just want to mention this story that was kind of cool. There was an article about it, about these Pennsylvania tombstones that are slowly inching together. And it's just this really cool story that was highlighted in a book called Haunted Roads of Western Pennsylvania by Thomas White. And somebody did a little article on it, and I just thought it was a really cool story.
Yeah.
But it's a pair of grand-looking tombstones bearing the inscriptions John Fogel and Mary Fogel. Well, those are some John and Mary. There you go.
Yeah. Winchesters.
They lived in the 1800s. John Fogel passed away in 1864 and Mary Fogel in 1883. And their tombstones are right next to each other, but they kind of lean in towards each other just a little bit. And this is in a cemetery that is in an area called Blue Mist Road, which has a lot of otherworldly, like, stories about it. It's in Pennsylvania. It gets a lot of
Blue Mist Road.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of fog. It's kind of like the roads we saw in Maine, with all the fog that sort of comes in. So, it like takes a dark turn. People have a lot of different things that they see there. Supposedly people go there and do things they shouldn't do.
Of course.
It's got the urban legends all about it. But at the end of the road is this cemetery where these, it's called Crossroads Cemetery. Isn't that a good name?
That is a cool name.
Where these tombstones sit. And the legend is that, the legend started that under the full moon at midnight, the tombstones touch and kiss.
Aww.
And that was how the legend started. Once it took the sinister turn and people were saying that there was like a cult house on the road and a witch house and Satanists and stuff. Now they say that if they touch, it's the end of the world. But I guess it's just how people look at things now. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with the first legend that every time there's a full moon at midnight, the lovers' tombstones touch and kiss.
No.
I don't think they actually touch, but they do look like they're going to. Like, maybe they're definitely leaning in on each other.
Maybe we'll get a little baby tombstone. Maybe that's what happened to the other tombstone. They obviously can't. I mean, let's not be silly. They can't have babies anymore, so maybe they adopt it.
Maybe. They're going to find it over there. That's hilarious.
If you're listening and you stole it, you know what to do with it.
That's
now.
right. We want to see the news story. We want to know that it's there.
Dude, they'll come. We'll get a knock on the door from like the gravestone FBI.
I would like
Mr. and Mrs. Edwards. We know what you did. Now you can play it off,
right?
But we know what you did.
I'll never admit it. I do want to go visit this road. If we're ever in Pennsylvania again, we've got to go to this Blue Mist Road.
Well, I dare say we'll be in Pennsylvania again.
The gentleman that wrote the book emphasized that there's probably reasonable explanations for a lot of the things that happen on the street, but that every time he's gone there, something weird has always happened to him. He said one time, for example, he and his folklore class were on the road at nightfall when they came upon a dog playing in a creek. So they all like shine their flashlights around the water, and they noticed an elderly couple, which White observed were at an age where climbing down to the creek would have certainly been difficult.
Right.
And who looked like the American Gothic painting, kind of standing in the dark, completely still, at the edge of the water.
With a pitchfork?
No pitchfork, but it was odd. And he said the only reaction the couple had to anything like him, the students, the dog, the lights, anything, was he just said, "Can you please turn out the light?" Which they did, and then they left because it was very creepy.
Yeah.
And the cops in the area also confirmed that some people were caught sacrificing animals in the area. Because, that's where young people that are,
dude,
doing things, they're going to go to the place they think's haunted and do that. So
I never catch you sacrificing an animal.
I know. That'd be awful.
No, that's crazy. What was the dog was playing? Was he playing guitar or?
No, playing in the water.
Okay.
Splashing around.
He wasn't playing a song called "In the Water."
No, that'd be amazing. That'd be definitely paranormal.
Yeah,
little banjo.
Yeah. Well, it's a crossroads. I mean.
Oh, all right. So let's move on to a story from Portland, Oregon.
Well, there you go for weird.
So there's a story going around about some mysterious posters that showed up at a Portland park that supposedly banned ghost summoning. And so over the weekend, a poster reading, "Due to recent events, Ouija boards are no longer permitted at Fern Hill Park."
Aww.
And this was a sign posted on the bathroom door, and it supposedly was from the Parks and Recreation Department in the area. Now, this is...
Due to recent events... I'd like to know what the recent events were.
Well, the recent events this is sort of like a copycat prank of something that happened in Toronto like a week before.
Oh, God.
So there's an independent cafe in Toronto that became the center of a lot of social media talk because of an ominous sign that the staff posted that said, "Due to recent events, Ouija boards are no longer permitted on the patio." And they hung it outside of their cafe on the street, and it did cause a lot of like social media talk. And eventually it was found out, it was a place called Milky's Coffee. And they found out that it was just a prank. The owners did it because they thought it would be funny.
All right.
And, they thought it would get people's attention and talking and stuff. And so it did turn, they did admit that was just a prank. But then a couple weeks later, now you have this copycat in Oregon hanging up the sign. And they did try to make it look authentic by putting like the Parks and Rec symbol on there, but Parks and Rec did confirm that is not official signage.
Well, of course they're going to say that.
Right.
It makes me think of this wonderful meme I seen earlier. It says, "Before I die, I'm going to pay an actress to attend my funeral, put a pentagram on my forehead, and say, 'This time you'll stay dead, you bastard.'"
I love posts like that.
That is creative.
Yes. I think I saw one recently. Maybe you sent it to me. The one about, it was a girl that said for like $100, I'll come to your party dressed all in black and walk around, but not talk to anybody. So that at the end of the night, people can say, "Who was that girl dressed all in black?" And you can say, "What girl?"
Yeah.
Just stuff like that. I love those things. In this article, there was a comment that they posted. I think this was a Reddit post by someone named Stacey M0204.
Probably a stripper.
And probably, but she does spell her name with an EY. So obviously, whoever this is very intelligent.
Very classy.
Says, "My guess is someone used it in the park recently and inadvertently created a portal to the underworld, allowing a demon to enter the terrestrial plane. Happens all the time. People are freaking out over nothing."
Absolutely, Stacey.
Portland, yeah.
Yeah, they're either strippy
or sassy.
Yeah.
Is that where you're going with that?
Strippy and sassy.
Those things are not mutually exclusive. All right, so let's move on.
Okay.
And let's talk about a movie that is coming out soon that I thought was really interesting.
Gladiator 2?
No.
Well, I'm looking forward to that one.
That one would be interesting. This was the movie, I think you've seen the preview for it. It's called Fly Me to the Moon.
I have.
It has Channing Tatum and Scarlett Johansson. It's kind of a romantic comedy.
Yeah, I didn't say anything about it when we saw the preview for that, but I knew you seen it.
Right. Well, do you remember what it's about?
No, I thought it was astronauts and
something like that.
The first
so
ever.
The whole point of the movie is that Channing Tatum is trying to get to the moon landing. Like, it's about the first moon landing.
Yeah.
And his character is, working on getting to the moon. But the Scarlett Johansson character is a marketing person, and she is hired to kind of sell it to the public, the whole moon landing thing.
Right.
And during the course of all this that's happening, a shady government person, played by Woody Harrelson, comes to her and talks to her about filming a fake moon landing.
You don't say.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, it's a story about them trying to do this moon landing, but then planning to fake a moon landing just in case the real one doesn't work out. And that's the whole premise of the movie. And it's so funny because they make little quips here and there about the whole conspiracy, the fake moon landing conspiracy. And I think even at one point when Scarlett Johansson's character, she's trying to, do this whole fake moon landing thing, she makes a quip that says, "We should have gotten Stanley Kubrick."
Oh my God.
Like that's her line in the movie.
Oh my God.
Kind of pointing to that whole thing.
They're just messing with us now.
Right. So I just thought the whole premise of the movie was really funny.
Yeah.
That they would put that into a movie. So,
haha.
Mm-hmm. So I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, it's probably, they say that most of Hollywood is controlled by the CIA and such people, and they have a lot of say on whether or not, this goes into a movie, or if you're making something like Close Encounters. We talked about wanting to see the new Spielberg film, when just being aliens and what have you. It's just cool.
Yeah.
I like the fact that the government interferes because it gives me more reason to watch movies.
Right. So you can see what they're putting in there between the lines.
Right. What are they putting in there? What are they taking out?
Right.
Don't want some boring old, free thought movie.
I like the way that they put it in here. It says in the movie's fanciful, it says it envisions a farcical fashion.
That's easy to say.
It envisions in farcical fashion what would have happened if the government had a plan to fake the moon landing in case the real mission failed. Faking.
Well, yeah, just in case.
But it says, in the movie's fanciful telling, NASA flight director Cole Davis, played by Tatum, a fictional character inspired partly by real-life title holders Gene Kranz and Jerry Griffin, the latter of whom served as an advisor on the production, is unaware of the conspiracy. He's too busy trying to make the real mission work, not to mention too honorable to take part in such deception.
Yeah.
Johansson, meanwhile, portrays Kelly Jones, an advertising whiz who's initially brought in to sell the Apollo program to the skeptical public. Exaggeration doesn't bother her, nor does casting telegenic cooperative actors to stand in for real NASA officials who are either too busy or too camera shy to take part in TV interviews. I think they're telling us something there.
Yeah.
But Kelly gets pushed beyond her ethical boundaries when she finds herself blackmailed by a shadowy government operative, Woody Harrelson, perfect for him, who tasks her with organizing a film shoot simulating the moon landing. And of course, they're talking, the whole Stanley Kubrick quip is because, he did that 2001 Space Odyssey film, and that was, 15 months before the moon landing.
Right.
And, he could have shot all of this while shooting that movie. It was a cover for doing the fake moon landing. The only other thing they mentioned about the moon hoax was that it got a big boost in 1976 from the book We Never Went to the Moon, America's $30 Billion Swindle, which is supposedly a tell-all penned by Bill Casing, a former naval officer who supposedly was one of the contractors that helped build the rocket. Was supposedly a whistleblower.
How long did old Bill make it after that book?
I don't know. I've never heard of him before, so if that tells you anything.
Most of the books that are tell-alls, they don't quite make it very long usually. At least until they get to rewrite it and say that none of it was real.
Well, very cool movie. I'm going to definitely watch that one when it comes out.
Yeah, tell me about it.
I will. So let's move on. Just a little note here that there is a house for sale in New Orleans.
Oh, well, I'm sure that's unusual.
Yes. Yeah.
Your house.
The LaLaurie Mansion is up for sale again.
Yeah, your house.
I like this article. I like how it's they still refer back to Nicolas Cage. Just the fact that he owned it at one point in time, right before he was ruined, then that's who they point to. I'm sure it had nothing to do with the house.
I think he was enriched.
Yeah. It's listed for $10.25 million. I think it's because the gentleman that owns it right now, he's a Texas-based, I think, oil guy. I'm not exactly sure if it says what he does.
Close enough. Texas.
Energy trader. He's an energy trader.
That's what they call him now.
Whatever that means. Is it? Michael Whalen. He's seeking $10.25 million for the estate. It's over 10,000 square feet. And he says, I guess they asked him about it being haunted, and he said, "I'm Catholic, and that kind of stuff doesn't scare me."
That's a hell of an answer.
Makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Makes perfect sense.
I grew up in churches with sad Jesus.
He just...
always staring down at me. Every service, I went in there in a good mood, and there it was, sad Jesus just looking right down at me. What have you been doing? You've been touching yourself, boy.
Apparently he just doesn't use it that often.
Probably wasn't what he said, but Father Johnson told me that's what he said.
He just uses it mostly for entertaining, so he's decided he wants to sell it, and I don't know. That house, that poor house, it needs, you know what it needs? It needs a family. It needs an actual family that's going to live in it.
This house needs Jesus.
And not put it on the
No, it doesn't need a family, you weirdo.
Listen, take it off the haunted tour. Don't use it for entertaining. Get a good, solid, functional, happy
Jesus Christ.
family to
You
live
sound
in
like
it
the
and
first
be
of
a family.
Poltergeist 7. Stacey tries to sell real estate.
No, I just think
It doesn't help. Listen,
okay.
that you can put the happiest damn family that's ever been in there,
Right.
and it's not going to help. People were chained to walls, and they met an untimely death, and they were mistreated like hell.
They were. I agree.
There
It
was a
needs.
lot
I
of-
didn't say it didn't need to be cleansed.
Cleansing ain't going to help it.
No, I know. I mean, it will. I think it will. I think if you just give it a new life, it will help it. And anything's better than gawking at it every night and retelling the story.
How about a water park?
No, in the middle of the French Quarter?
Well, it needs something.
I don't think that would. No, it'd be naked people going down there all day. No, you don't need a water park.
It needs something, maybe a beer garden or something.
I mean, they tried to do other things with it, like a girls' school and stuff like that, but it's
I'm
just.
sure that was wonderful.
Yeah, I'm sure that
that's
worked.
never a recipe for anything happening. There were repressed feelings
I don't know.
there.
Somebody wants to give me the house, I'll attempt to cleanse it.
Yeah, you know what? There's a
afford it.
reason you're not allowed in antique shops or real estate places. Like,
I just always like that house.
Miss, I really like that freaking African mask. Well, Stacey, it's talking to me, right? Well, I really want it. And then later that night, we hear tribal drums in our freaking house.
Should have brought it home. See? Do you know what I was going to do with it? I was going to send it back to where it came from.
Yeah. You're going to send me back. So what's
No,
going to happen?
I was going to return it to where it needed to be because I think it said on there that some photographer had brought it home or something.
Yeah.
It needs to go back. That's what needs to happen. All right. Anyway, let's continue.
You're going to be the reappropriation person. I mean, listen.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff that needs to go back, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just a lot of stuff.
Right.
But I don't want you to be the person doing it.
You just don't want to bring those things in the house.
Well, yeah, because, I'm a little sensitive.
What if we had like yeah, but see, that's what helps. Then I would know where to send it. I can't just do that on my own. I can't just like pick it up and be, I'm not that good. Be like, oh, I think this comes from, Southern Africa. I mean, I can't do that. You would have to tell me where to send it.
Okay.
Okay, anyway. Let's continue. How about a nice story?
How about?
Nice, happy story. This is from Canada, from Kelowna, I think. Anyway, it's just a cute story about this gentleman that came home one day and realized that all of his lawn gnomes were missing.
Oh, no.
And he had quite a pretty decent collection, and they were all gone. And he kind of just chalked it off to, I guess, somebody just sort of stole it. They were a little bit weathered. They were worn. He had a few items recently disappear, like a canoe, over the last few weeks. So he assumed the thieves just snatched his gnomes and accepted the fact that he was never going to see them again. However, a couple weeks later, I think it was, he had a knock on his back door. And when he opened the door, an elderly woman stood there who presented him with a blank envelope just addressed to the homeowner. So inside the envelope was a cutout image of a gnome with the words, "The Gnome Restoration Society," inscribed on the back. And so the woman, who would not answer any of his questions, just instructed him to follow her to her vehicle, where she opened the trunk and there were all of his gnomes completely restored to new status, painted, fixed, beautiful looking, all happy and gnome-like again.
Oh, my God.
And so he said it totally made his day. And he said they've never looked better. And when he tried to figure out who had done it, she said that they just wanted to stay anonymous. They didn't want anyone to know who they were, and that she was just the messenger. She was just the delivery person. So there is apparently a Gnome Restoration Society that will come and steal your gnomes and refurbish them for you.
Was it you?
It was not me. This is Canada. I did not go that far. But I did like the story because I did refurbish our gnome.
Yes.
So I thought it was kind of a cute story, and what a nice thing for people to do.
Well, except for the whole, theft part of it.
Well, I mean, they just took them to restore them.
Uh-huh.
I mean, they're just garden gnomes.
Yeah, well, it could have been a very special gnome.
And he got it back perfectly preserved.
No, I mean, maybe he liked Nomi's original paint. I don't know.
They did accidentally leave one that I guess they didn't see, all weathered. So now he has like 9 perfectly good gnomes and one that got forgotten.
Oh, speaking of B-movie horror.
The gnome that was forgotten.
Yeah. He'd be pecking on the window at night.
What about me? What about me?
I did not need to hear that. All right. So let's talk about a couple of discoveries real quick. Just a
Why
couple
did you
of cool
paint
ones.
the other thing? Like the other thing out in the yard?
What other thing?
The thing that's yellow and got beads all over it now?
The bird bath?
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah. I put water in the top and the birds drink.
Did we have that before?
No.
Was it out there and just not painted?
No, honey. I put that. It's just flower pots I glued together and painted them so I could have a place for a bird bath.
Oh.
Because I didn't want to spend a lot of money on like a stone bird bath that we couldn't pick up.
I don't like asking questions.
Oh, I see.
I've been looking out there every day and
the only problem
wondering where
with
the hell it came from.
The only problem with it is I didn't have the top of it's a little bit too small. I want a bigger top. Like I want to change it, but I couldn't find one that was bigger.
Yeah.
So I might do that, or I might just make a new one. It was really simple. It's just terracotta pots. You glued them together, spray painted them, put some pretty jewels on them to attract the birds, and put some water in it. Boy, they've really needed it though. Last couple of weeks, like I've been filling it up.
Do the birds seem to like the decorations? You said it attracts the birds.
I think the bright colors attract the birds. That's why I used yellow.
Okay.
I'm not really sure.
A lot of them hang out and
They do drink out of it.
I mean, you've got a lot of birds.
Yeah, they do drink out of it every now and then. I try to keep water in there, and I spray the grass with water so that when they're eating the birdseed I put down, that it's not like I fell outside today. I was on the side of the porch, and I guess I wasn't paying attention. My foot slipped off the side of the porch, and I fell, and our ground is like concrete right now because it's so hot.
Yeah, it's all brown and
It's
dead.
awful. Oh, it's terrible. All my clovers are gone. My beautiful, beautiful clovers. They'll grow back if it would just ever rain. So I don't know. Anyway, let's move on.
Okay.
Discoveries. Just wanted to mention 2 kind of cool discoveries. The first one is one made by the James Webb Telescope. We haven't talked about a discovery by James Webb in a while.
It's an every episode thing.
And this is about a planet that looks like an eyeball. Have you seen the pictures of this?
Yes.
It is so crazy
freaky
looking. It's 50 light years from Earth, and it's basically a planet that's very icy, but it has one warm spot that faces its star.
Mm-hmm.
So there's like blue water, and there's like little blue veins that go, so it looks just like an eyeball,
Yeah,
like a
it's an
blue
eyeball.
eyeball with the white. It's
There's no
crazy.
looking like. It's an eyeball. They can say it's eyes. It's a giant eyeball.
It's so crazy. It's called LHS 1140b, or the eyeball, I think they might be calling
Yeah.
it now. And it's
Can you imagine
Mm-hmm.
looking through and just coming like, turning the damn satellite and finding that eyeball looking right back at you?
That would be weird. So it's 1.73 times wider than our planet and 5.6 times its mass. And it's tidally locked to its host star, which means it rotates at the same rate as it orbits its star. So it takes about under 25 Earth days to go around its star once. Now, it's very close to the star, but the star that it orbits is not as bright as ours. So it's actually in the habitable zone for its system. So I don't know. It's very cool. I just loved the pictures of it. Definitely something you have to go look at because it's really freaky. Looks like it's looking at us.
We should send an optometrist there.
Put a big monocle on
Yeah.
it. Yeah. The other discovery I wanted to mention was about an 52,000-year-old scrap of woolly mammoth skin that they found that has revealed the 3D shape of its DNA for the first time ever.
Oh, wonderful.
Yes. So you know how they're trying to bring back the woolly mammoth and they've got pieces of its DNA and they're kind of filling it in with like elephant DNA.
Yeah.
Well, now for the first
They have
time
the whole
ever,
code.
they have, it says they've revealed the 3D shape of it. I don't know if that means they have the entire code, but this is the first time they've ever gotten the shape of what it's supposed to look like.
Right.
Now, it says these fragments were about 100 letters of DNA, but we did not know what order they had in the mammoth genome. Because they said it's like separated pages of a book, but without a page number. So the results of the new study
They're gonna create a
will enable
platypire.
researchers to put to order all of those pages of what they had. So, they had the DNA, and now they kind of know where it goes. So they're super excited about this.
How many mammoths do you think they've got out there that's got like trunks on their ass and like, Who
knows? It says the mammoth died and froze in a way that crystallized not only its carcass, but also its cells and chromosomes, which stayed intact for 52,000 years. So they're very excited.
Jesus Christ.
Wow. I wish they'd stop finding this stuff.
Oh, there's an island.
You think so?
Absolutely. There's an island, and it's got all the monkey boys and the damn, everything they've made.
Right. And messed up on?
They've made the stuff. Listen, they've made it. We did stories over a decade ago where they were just like, oh, China started that, and then we made them stop because we went and told them to stop. And we know how good they do that. I'm just waiting. A whole army of super soldiers.
Mammoths. We're going to go into war with mammoths.
I mean, I hope. Jesus Christ. I will.
They used to fight on elephants.
Listen,
Mammoths.
I will sign up. They'll call me John Alexander the Great. I mean, I will sign up today.
If you get to ride
if I can ride a mammoth into battle. If I can ride a mammoth into battle.
With your laser gun and your...
Listen, dear government, I give myself to thee.
The Mammoth Division?
Oh, the 1st Armored Mammoth Division. I mean...
Can you see the other countries are like, they're coming over here on ships, sir. Wait, what are those planes? Are those tanks? Wait, what is that on that ship?
Looks like a very eager middle-aged man on a mammoth.
There would be more than one. There'd be lots of middle-aged men on mammoths.
Yeah, they'd be behind me.
You and all your friends.
We'd all be wearing golden Speedos with spiked helmets.
Oh, wow.
And furry boots.
Okay. Anyway, so let's move on.
And swords we steal from France.
Yes, out of the cliffs.
Yes.
Oh, you wouldn't be able to be beat because those swords are indestructible.
Well, at least you can throw it very far. I just throw it as soon as they see me.
You need to bend it so it would at least come back to you, because otherwise you throw it once, it's gone.
Well, I mean,
make it into a boomerang.
I think you sort of make the point when you throw it across the ocean, and
All right, so let's move on. Just got 2 more stories here. Now, this one's a little bit sad. It's sort of a cautionary tale, let's say. And this is about some Sri Lankan fishermen. Now, at least 5 Sri Lankan fishermen have tragically lost their lives, and 3 more are in critical condition after consuming the mysterious contents of bottles they found floating in the open sea. Yeah. So the Sri Lankan Navy recently reported that at least 5 fishermen, they had to rescue them off of a boat because unfortunately the crew found a bunch of bottles floating in the sea, and I guess they believed them to be alcohol of some type that they could drink. So they gave some to some other boats, and then they drank it, and it was not drinking alcohol. They got very, very ill. And I believe that most of them now, all but one, has passed from drinking this mysterious liquid.
Do they know what it was? Or?
They're not sure. I have not seen a final ruling on what it is. I believe they think that it's some sort of cleaning alcohol and not drinking alcohol, something of that sort. But I guess because it was in like some kind of bottles, and I don't know what they thought it was, but it just brought me back to the story we did a year or so ago about the guy on Antiques Roadshow.
Yeah.
Where somebody brought a weird bottle to be, and he was like, oh, that's an old port wine. That's going to be great. And he took a syringe and he stuck it through the cork and he pulled some out. He's like, I'm just going to taste it. And they were like, are you sure you want to do that? And he's like, yeah. And so then he tasted it. He was like, oh, no, that's kind of weird. So then a few years later, they were doing like a What Happened on Antiques Roadshow, like a recap thing. And they had the contents of the bottle tested, and it was a witch bottle.
Oh.
So it was full of nails and hair and urine. Yeah. And that's what he drank. Yeah. And he was, and so they brought him on the show to reveal that to him.
Some of that witch moon stuff.
Yeah. They were like, hey, guess what you drank? And he was like, well, you only live once. Yeah. I wasn't not going to try it.
It wasn't the first time I had a witch moon in my body.
So, yeah, weird bottles. Let's not drink the contents, okay?
I mean, how about anything floating in a Sri Lankan water?
Yeah, seriously. It's probably not from a shipwreck. It's probably not aged wine. Let's just not drink it, okay?
I mean, Jesus Christ.
Isn't that awful? All right, last story.
It's more awful they were able to sucker the other guys into it, you know?
Well, I know. Well, I don't know. I mean, it said that the Navy was trying to get a hold of all the sailors and say, hey, if anybody gave you any weird bottles, please don't drink it.
But there shouldn't be a thing we have to say.
I know. That's what I'm thinking. I mean, you shouldn't pull something out of the water and be like, oh, I think I'm going to drink this without like smelling it, giving it a little test.
I hope they come back as like super powered, like
maybe,
fish people.
Mutants or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So this last story is from South Korea.
Okay.
Now, South Korea, they have a lot of like robotic workers in South Korea. A lot of robots that they do. They have a lot of robots that are part of the workforce. And this is a story about a particular one who worked in an office building. And its job was to carry things up a couple of flights. It knew how to get on the elevator and go up and down. It would take documents and food and coffee and things. And it kind of worked in the office, and it had been there for a while. And people sort of got used to it and really considered it part of the workforce. So recently, the robot's been acting really strange. And it was just sort of like going in circles and going circles. K-pop. Yeah. So eventually, the robot threw itself down the stairs. And when they went down, it was unresponsive at the bottom of the stairs and is now no longer usable. So this is considered the first robot taking its own life.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Suspiciously enough,
Korea.
The other robot model, slightly older than this one, was seen in the vicinity of the top of the stairs.
It says in here that he started working in August 2023. He only worked a 9 to 6 work schedule, that he had his own key card ID. His coworkers loved him, and that he would deliver documents throughout the building. And it says, as silly as it sounds, some experts are suggesting that the robot may have had an emotional breakdown and maybe have been overworked or overused to the point where it had a malfunction and just wanted to end it and throw itself down the stairs. So they collected some parts for a thorough diagnosis.
What would be terrible is robot, you're going to be able to pull like the chip out and start it right back up. Can you imagine this poor robot that's been trying to end it?
He doesn't want to work anymore.
Yeah, it's just like,
my life is so meaningless.
It's just like, hello, workbot. We've got you in a new, more powerful body. You'll be able to do all the mail. Oh, no. Please stop it. It reminds me of on Hitchhiker's Guide. The freaking... Oh, joy. I'm so happy. Please. I love that robot.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's a robot that was made by Bear Robotics, and it said that it was programmed to travel between the floors using the elevator, and that it was circling an invisible object before diving down a 2-meter tall staircase.
Circling an invisible object?
Yeah, like it was just going in circles.
Oh.
And then it just right down the stairs, even though it was programmed to use the elevator.
Talking to a ghost or something? I
don't know.
Maybe
it was like, I just really want to use the stairs just once. And he thought about it for a long time.
No.
What?
Wouldn't it be cool? That was the first robot suicide. What if we could have the first robot paranormal ghost? Now, listen.
Okay.
You want to talk about AI going to the next level.
Right, right.
What happens when we start getting like AI EVPs?
Oh, man. That's crazy.
Because you really want to know if they got consciousness? Let's find out.
That's right. See if they talk to you from the afterlife.
Yeah.
Wow. That'd be creepy.
That would be really creepy. Help me. Get out.
Oh, well, that was all my news.
Why are you saying these things? Well, it was on Google. That's wild.
It's crazy.
We got to write a short story.
Okay.
Of the AI ghost.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
And how it would be really creepy because it would be consciousness. Was it really a soul? I think in the story that it should be like souls that want to come back, that we find out that they were creating all these AI helper robots.
Right.
And what happened is they had these souls, and it was like demons that were wanting to inhabit humans.
Right.
But they found out they could go into these androids.
Oh, huh. That's crazy.
And, so now they can be superhuman demons. Because
You should probably not be saying this out loud.
Well, just saying. It'd be an interesting story.
It would be.
And it's out there.
You're giving people's ideas.
Yeah, it's out there now. So if somebody can write it and make that's my job in life.
I was thinking more that the demons were going to hear you.
Oh, well, I'm sure they gave me the idea in the first place.
Possibly. Enough people have to think about it so it comes into reality.
There you go.
The weird thing about that robot is it hasn't even been working for a year. Like it just started it just started working at that office in August of 2023.
Yeah,
and it's not even August again yet. It's almost a year.
It's a Gen Z bot.
It's like that's a very short amount of time for it to malfunction.
It just wanted to text and go home and game. And on that terrible disappointment from my lovely wife, Stacey, my name's John. So long from the Sideshow.
Good night.